Individual men, event number 1 is off as they take the floor for the very first time here at the LDLC Arena in Lyon, France, as the 2024 CrossFit Semifinals for the European Semifinals is underway, and starting off with that 800-meter run as Lazar switchbacks outside and they'll make their way inside. Now, Goer, when you're looking at what you started and what you wanted to put out there is, all right, you saw a need and you wanted to, instead of like say, hey, we should have this, you just went out there and made it.
Yeah, I met my co-founder, Henning Langer. He's not here. And we basically met via Twitter, and I said, man, we're reading all these papers.
That's all budding relationships start.
It's usually. I actually never met him in person. I said, we have to do this, and we're just interested in strength sports, endurance, and then also obviously CrossFit.
Yeah.
So then after a while, like 1 or 2 years, there's more and more studies on CrossFit specifically that came out. So that was easy for us. Then we just tried to explain those studies, and yeah, it really grew organically and people seem to like it.
Well, I definitely like it. And what I liked about it is that, you know, I follow a slew of other sports in the space, and they always had the sports science. And it was like, oh, the trajectory angle of the quarterback throwing the football that gets the maximum distance, which we all know if we took physics is 30 degrees, right? And then you look at wind factors or weight movement or weight displacement, and the fact that you're bringing some of that into the CrossFit space, I think, is very cool. But it's also beyond that as you guys look at what are the other trends you guys focus on?
Yeah, what we are really interested in is that CrossFit is both endurance and strength, let's say at the same time. Yeah. Very good example here.
Right.
And why are some people just good at CrossFit but potentially not the best in other, let's say, strength sports and elite endurance sports? So it seems that some CrossFitters can distribute their blood flow perfectly to do just CrossFit. And we don't know much about this as scientists, as, let's say, the human population.
Yeah.
And that's why I think from a scientific point of view and physiological point of view, CrossFit is super interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, you do what you find interesting, kind of, right?
Ah, true, that's right. That's why, hey, that's why I'm here.
Exactly. I think they're coming in, right?
Men are getting close. We're about the 2:30 mark, and I think on the women's side we saw them coming in on the first run right around the 3-minute mark. So we're having probably about within 30 seconds of coming in for that first run. And I tell you what, if anybody's coming in at a sub 3-minute 800, they were probably, oh, there they are,
they're all
240.
Lazar Ðukić, yes.
I hope that's not a true 800 because we may be, you know, Watt Science, you know what you need to do is you need to go out and measure the run course maybe 2 or 3 times and see if that's a real 5K. All right, Lazar Ðukić is actually to the bar first as
singles. Yeah.
Athletes are coming in and singles across the board so far. And you see Michael Smith on the bottom side of your screen in the blue shirt. Michael Smith, an athlete that have been to the games before, and he's looking to see if he can make his way back. Michael Smith, 6 foot 210, so maybe not built for running, but definitely for moving a barbell. Athlete out of Crooked Lake CrossFit in Ireland. This is his 3rd semifinal. He has 1 event win, and that came all the way back in the 2014 regionals, where he took, or his best finish was 2nd. Lazar Ðukić out the door already at 340. Michael Smith behind him at 345, 348. So your top 3, a little bit tighter in the first run window, and that tends to get spread out a little bit, but Lazar Ðukić holding on to that first place position as the rest of the field is slowly making their way out for their 2nd run. Just past the 4:20 mark. There's a 30-minute cap for this event. We didn't see anybody in need of that when the women's turn. As we working out to the next run, but we got some barbells out here. And if you guys know anything about bars, there's outfitting all of these semifinals, and that's Rogue Fitness. And the quality that they bring out. If you guys can get your phones out, scan the QR code now. As The Rogue Shorty Bars. Space-saving barbell. Oh, here's a wild science question. Short bars versus the regular bars when it comes to weightlifting. How about that?
I have to look at it. That's a good question.
Well, I mean, ask any athlete across the board is like, you're going to get less whip on a shorter bar. It doesn't add weight, but it definitely makes it harder to move, which I always think would be a pretty fun. Here, this is me saying you do the work. You do all the work, but when you look at levers and pinch points of where the weight distribution is, and those short bars always feel heavier because the lack of whip you get from the longer one.
Yeah, certainly with touch and go movements, I would say. So that's maybe also why they, why they want to do not the touch and go on most of the athletes here.
Yeah. That's not why I do singles. I do singles because I can't touch and go, but I'll blame it on the short bars from now on. So men are out for their second run. Lazar Ðukić in the first heat. Obviously what he did last year, winning this semifinal in 2023 when it was in Berlin. How many semifinals have you personally been to?
This is my first one.
First one?
Yeah, this is my first one.
All right, you're coming to a good one.
Yeah.
Coming to a good one. And we are in Lyon, France. It's absolutely beautiful outside. The weather, a little bit colder than I was planning on, although, of course, that's what happens when I look at Celsius instead of degrees.
Yeah, it's beautiful outside. It's not too warm. Also, inside the arena, there's plenty of oxygen. It's not like full of CO2, so I think that's good for the athletes, also for their health. Because I think, after such a long day, all the spectators, when there's no...
Oh, yeah. Breathing up everybody's air.
Yeah, exactly.
Lazar already back in.
He looks very light-footed.
I tell you what, hot on his heels is Michael Smith. So Lazar Ðukić in the white and green making the turn. He'll move to his bar as Michael Smith. They might get to the bar at nearly the same time. So Michael has closed the distance on Lazar on that second run. Lazar Ðukić, top left corner of your screen, going for singles. Same with Michael Smith.
So that's what I mean with like the distribution of blood flow, right? Like all the blood or most of the blood is pooled in the lower body. And now they have to also use the shoulders because it's a relatively heavy weight, certainly after 7-8 reps, And it's not always the one who has the biggest endurance capacity who wins. You also need to distribute the blood, and this is something we don't know much about, and very interesting.
And we talk about that in a certain extent, but it's also making sure that you are not mismanaging your movement patterns and making it harder than it is with sloppy technique or bad reps. Lazar Ðukić out the door at 7:36. My goodness, he is putting how much room that he just made on Michael Smith. We said they were tied when they got to the bar. Michael Smith is now 10 seconds behind him after 10 reps in
the barbell cycle also makes a big difference. It's not only the running here. I would say it's predominantly the running, but not like, I would say 60-40 or something.
It's definitely running heavy, and you just think like time oriented too. We're spending maybe 60-70% of the time on the run. However, it's interesting to see that combos. You can make up the time on the run, but you can also make up that time on the barbell as well, especially when everybody's doing singles. I think if this was a way that you could touch and go, that would be a different story. If this was any lighter, say 155 and 105, and then it's a definite running workout because you can't gain an advantage on the barbell if you're cycling easy. But at 185 and everybody is doing singles, then it's that time back to the bar. How efficient you are with the bar. Is that barbell going to take away from your runs round and round?
That's why it's a beautifully programmed workout. It's just heavy enough, but not too heavy. Keep going. OG workout,
Well, you think about too is it's old school. It's classic CrossFit manifested in, hey, we want our athletes to be able to run far, lift heavy. And if you know Boz, if you know Adrian Bosman, I feel like almost every year, no matter what competition is alive, there's always been a run, lifting, comboed element, whether it's scored differently or evenly programmed in a particular event. And I think this is a classic Adrian Bosman stamp on the program.
Yeah, talk about hybrid training, lifting heavy and also be able to run. And that's why, it's not also one, let's say, anthropometrics of athlete that will win here.
True.
You can be tall in this workout and actually do very well because you just have longer strides. You can be relatively light because then you can run a bit faster, but maybe the barbell is a bit heavier. So that's why I think it's a very balanced workout and a good semi-final workout.
Well, it's always good to see an event program where You don't just pick a person based off their stature, knowing they're going to work. Now, some of those events are in play, especially in CrossFit. I mean, you know this with what you do, is that anthropometrics play a relatively big part in CrossFit because we are doing movements with our body, and that is a big difference. But the way this is programmed, like you said, could be, we say, the tale of three athletes, right? You might have the endurance-based athlete versus the strength, or you have the smaller athlete versus the bigger, and then you have that person right in the middle. And it's not hybrid, you're just fit. You're just the fittest person in the room, and that's what we're trying to find to begin with.
Yeah, we did a study on elite CrossFit athletes, and it was the anthropometrics that determines their open performance quite a bit. But not, I think, when you're coming to the semifinals and the games. Then it's much less of a factor. So if you're a tall person, you just get to the quarterfinals and you're good.
Yeah, that's what we're glad.
Jelle Hoste, for example.
Well, Jelle Hoste is one of those athletes. I'm curious to see him take this.
Ðukić, he's pretty tall.
Lazar Ðukić is done, so he has extended his lead. So after the second run, Michael Smith has actually made up time. But after the third one, Lazar just right to the barbell. Wow. Lazar Ðukić, top left corner of your screen in the white shirt, first to the barbell, has been first overall in this heat since we began. And this is a man that does not want to be in an early heat going into day 2 tomorrow.
He won't be.
Yeah, he will not. You won't be. Being in the first heat now, knowing that as we are in heat 1, we do have a second heat left to go. But Lazar Ðukić, with the pace that he has on this barbell, very impressive, even though it is still singles, but it's quick singles and there's not a lot of rest that's being taken here.
Around 3 to 4 seconds per rep.
Lazar Ðukić, 11:40 done with round number 3 as he goes out for his 4th round out on the run course. Michael Smith in the blue and black still has, looks like 2 or 3 reps left to go. 1 rep left for Michael Smith. So Michael Smith still maintaining that second place position, but losing time to Lazar Ðukić.
Most of the time on the barbell, I would say. I think he runs close to the same pace.
And you look at the combo of these two movements as we're talking about is you've got the run, which is the more cardiovascular based. However, what's happening to your legs on the clean and jerk, and if you think about what muscle group is just going to suck all the oxygen out of your body, and it's going to be those legs. And the fact that they're getting taxed twice per rep, that adds into how well can you either recover or manage that fatigue on the runs.
Yeah, that's the beauty of CrossFit. You know, you tax one muscle group in a certain way, and then you come back to another movement and you tax it again.
Just past the 13-minute mark is a 30-minute capped event. As your top 3 guys in this heat are absolutely blowing the doors off everybody else. As you have Lazar Ðukić, Michael Smith as your top 2. But even in this heat, you've got Games athletes Enrico Zanoni, Henrik Hapalainen, and Yorgos Kerevis. All in this heat.
John Kington, also done with round number 3.
You see the 10 meter right after they stopped the last movement or the last. You have to keep going, you know.
Well, it's one of those nice things, as you said. This stadium is or this arena is getting bigger. There's more people coming in. It's getting warmer in here. Outside, it's nice. It's nice and cool. So getting outside is one of those. It's the tricks of the brain during an event when you're kind of grasping at straws, try to get through it. But it's like, oh, just let me get outside and I can feel better, or let me get around this corner, or let me you got to start playing those games with yourself when you're out here in the middle of the event.
Yeah, these athletes are really riding the red line now. They're just on their threshold, maybe just above, because it's a pretty long workout to start with. So this will tax them for the next events, and that's why it's also beautifully programmed to see who can recover from such a fatiguing workout. If it's like a 2-minute, 3-minute Fran, these guys they can handle this. But this is long, and they will expend a lot of energy and also sugars, glycogen. So That's why it's a good starting event, I think.
Well, also too is that since it's just one event today, right? It's you really don't have a lot of reasons not to push yourself basically into the red, knowing you've got a full day to recover. And here comes Lazar Ðukić, and the shirt is off.
He's running fast.
And Lazar, he's such a good runner. He always has been since he's been in. And look, just no time wasted, running to the bar, picking it up right away. Nice, tight, efficient movement on the clean and jerk, that transition from shoulder overhead. The other thing, too, is just like the way he's having that bar drop and bounce where it's not all over the place, out of control. Michael Smith now in the door. Lazar Ðukić has 5 reps left to go as Michael Smith is yet to get to his bar.
He's doing well on the run, so yeah.
Smith still holding his ground, but Lazar Ðukić, 3 reps remaining, and that's really the first time we've seen a sign of fatigue from Lazar as he's doing that, instead of the 1-step back, the old 2-step back. 16 minutes. Lazar Ðukić, 1 final round to go. Henrik Haapalainen just entered the arena. Tan tank top. Cinching up his belt, Michael Smith still working on his 10 reps. Haapalainen right to his bar, bottom left corner of your screen. Working all the way around on the backside. In lane 20, that is Fernando Paradillos out of CrossFit Games. Michael Smith, 16:40, 40 seconds behind Lazar. Henrik Haapalainen, bottom left corner of your screen. He has 5 reps left to go, so he's trying to hold on to that 3rd place position. Now, it's not necessarily when he gets off the bar because of the top right part of your screen. Paradillos out of CrossFit Games, though he's 3 reps behind, Henrik Haapalainen has to make up the ground between his lane and Fernando's. So Haapalainen, left corner of your screen, tan tank top, last rep, so he's on his 4th round. Fernando has 1 rep left himself. He's in the top right corner in the white shirt. He's in lane 20 as Haapalainen comes around, and this is where you see how close they actually are. So they're sitting in that 3rd and 4th place position respectively.
In that 3rd position.
It's great to see the outdoor run as well, so we don't have any problems with any potential machine or so that is differently calibrated. I love this. This is just pure, honest.
It is definitely much better than, say, a runner for 800. Better for the, well, technically we can't see the 800, but it is nice figuratively
but because
to see
the
that.
athletes are so spread out, you can still always see athletes moving, so it doesn't really matter too much, to be honest. I like it. It's also good for the athletes, as you say.
And it's just a more natural display of fitness, right? Get your feet on the pavement and just start running versus a runner. So it is nice that they did make that change as opposed to last year. Heat 1 of men, individual event number 1, the only event they're going to have today. Their event number will actually increase day to day. So they'll have 2 events tomorrow and 3 events to close out their semifinals on Sunday. We still have the teams as they are doing the opposite. They've got 3 events today, 2 events tomorrow, and they will be done. Teams will have their version of this event coming up, which I think is the worst of the 2, which is the 800-meter runs, then 15 worm thrusters between each round. Just past the 19-minute mark.
You see the breaks getting in slightly longer. So this is the question as you test this event. Do you go for negative splits, always try to go faster, or do you just go hard and then try to hold on? This is the question you have to ask yourself as an athlete, you know?
You think of the length that this event is as Lazar is coming in for his 5th and final round.
It's not going to beat the 20-minute mark, but he will be quite close.
And Ðukić, the first athlete going sub-21.
1 rep in for Lazar Ðukić. All alone on the competition floor. He had about a 40-second lead on second place Michael Smith.
Michael Smith coming back in. He's got to get round to his barbell. But Lazar Ðukić is putting his 5th rep in the air. He has
Top time for the women was 21:11. Lazar Ðukić has 4 reps left to go as Michael Smith is making way to the bar. What a great start for Michael Smith. Michael Smith, who had been to the games once in 2019, is trying to see if he can make his way back. There's only 10 spots here for the European semifinal for the men, and Lazar Ðukić 20:33 unofficially for Lazar Ðukić.
taking Heat 1 win.
Will be interesting to see if some people go unbroken now this last round to shave off 5, 6, 7 seconds. You know,
Henrik Haapalainen is in. He has made a big change as he was chasing Fernando Perdios, who's just passing him. So Henrik Haapalainen just turned on the jets on that last run as Michael Smith on the left side of your screen closes his event 1 out. 21:07 unofficially for Michael Smith. And Henrik Haapalainen, who has quietly had a lot of success here at the European semifinals over the years. Last year taking 2nd place overall to Lazar Ðukić in 2023. In 2022, in strength and depth, he also took 2nd place. So 2 back-to-back 2nd place finishes at semifinals for Henrik Haapalainen, who just finishes up his event.
It's nice to see Rico is a much lighter athlete, and he also performs very well in this workout compared to Lazar, who's a bigger athlete, and so he will be 4th, 5th, Rico. So it's a good result for him, I think.
Come on, make some noise for your reigning champ, Rico Zanoni!
22:07. Pardelas is through.
And Rico Zanoni is done doing everyone a disservice by wearing a shirt. How dare you?
I mean, we're running outside, right?
Yeah, man, but listen, if I looked like Enrico Zanoni, I would probably never wear a shirt anywhere. In public, on a train. Why deprive everybody of that?
22:30 unofficial.
Although maybe with the clean and jerks, it might be a bit slippery. You know, they're sweating really hard now. So
Hey, stop trying to get him to keep his shirt on. Just let me dream.
22:50 for Lazar Ðukić.
Final reps for your Heat 1 athletes. As we just had 3 make their way in.
Wrapping it in just after the 23 minutes.
10 reps, 185, clean and jerk, 50 total reps.
what's fun about this workout is you can do it as an RX elite athlete yourself. Try to pick a weight where you also have to go singles but not too light, and see if you can beat the guys or be close to the same. And that's fun about this OG programming. You don't have these super difficult movements, so it's quite relatable for people at home, I think.
And we see that throughout the weekend is that there's nothing clever, cute. There's no pirouettes. Not saying they shouldn't be in competition, but the fact that they're not, I think, really levels the playing field a little bit more to just, all right, who's the fittest 10 guys here? Who's the fittest 10 girls here? We're not going to trick you. We're not going to out-program you. We're just going to give you 6 events and just you guys go battle it out for it. Hey, what's the WOD science on games distribution spots? Do you want to jump into that realm at all?
I mean, you have to dig into the data, right? It seems that Europe didn't get too many spots. But that's, I'm pretty biased here, I would say.
I'll just let you speak to it. I'll stay quiet over here on the corner as not to disrupt the status quo. But if you,
I got invited by you guys, so I have to be friendly.
Yeah. Coming up to the 25-minute mark, just 30 seconds from that. We're still 5 minutes from the 30-minute time cap. No one is in danger of that, but The time cap's extended. I was talking to Adrian Bosman this morning. So he wants to make sure everybody gets to experience this workout at its fullest.
That's nicely expressed.
How nice of him, yes. What a generous human being.
2 reps to go.
2 more reps to go. Jules Castor out of CrossFit Happy Hearts. We still have 1 heat left to go. Lazar Ðukić being in this heat, there was a penalty in quarterfinals which put him lower in the seeding. However, after one event, they're going to reseed tomorrow, and Lazar may be in familiar territory, being that final heat going into tomorrow. Top of your screen in the orange will be Jelle. Now, the thing for him is he's out the door first, but since it's a loop, everyone will be running the same distance. However, in the later rounds, he'll have the most area to get to his barbell. Now, it all evens out in the end, but we saw this in the first heat with Ella Wilkington. She was first out the door, but she was so quick on the runs, she almost got out of everybody's sight to where they just didn't either want to chase her or knew that she was there.
Yeah, there's always a bit of a benefit of kind of breaking that vision of sight. You know, if they forget about you, that's definitely a benefit.
If you think about, your endurance sports background, triathlons and such, is like, that's a big part of it, especially when you think, well, the ones where you can see like biking and running in particular is, okay, can I play that game? Because there's about 3 or 4 switchbacks outside where you can see or can't. And if I can get out the door and just get enough away out of your sight that you just don't want to chase me, they're all capable of, but there's some distance around there where you just don't feel like you can.
Yeah, and also it's a little bit demoralizing if if you're the person chasing and every time you come around a corner, that person in front is just a little bit further away. It's not long before it starts to break
Yeah.
you and you realize what's happening, and you have to make that choice of, do I try and chase them or actually am I going to stick to my strategy and let them go? And that's the other thing. If you're the person out in front, there is a temptation to be like, well, I can't let anyone go past me because I'm out in front.
Yeah.
And at the same time, that could then come around to kick you in the bum later.
And even more so, it's like there's one to see him when they're 40 yards away, but if it's a 20-20 switchback,
Yeah.
and you can't even see if your pace is even gaining you that ground.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that they have that run set up for this. Now, time to beat 20:33 by Lazar Ðukić. We just passed the 2-minute mark. He rolled in at about 2:30, 2:33. So that's where we put the ish on the 800-meter run.
I was going to say, that's a fast 800.
That's a fast switchback 800 if I've ever seen one. But say in your head is that, okay, you didn't really get to run this course. Say you're competing here. You do the first run. How are you approaching that first run? Am I pushing the pace based off what I know it feels like, and then kind of assess that with the clock when I come in?
Yeah, for sure. I think it definitely needs to go by feel on this.
On cue, 2:31, and Jelle just behind him. Jelle, you won't be able to miss him. He's in the orange.
It is a strong start.
So Jelle, he'll be all the way on the backside.
Orange headband coming in. Bossard.
And that's Colin Bossard. So Colin was actually one spot out of qualifying last year at semifinals. Him and Jelle are side by side. Bossard in the blue, Jelle in the orange. Both coming in right around 3:30. And Lucian, you said the barbell cycling as far as tempo, because everyone's still going all singles for the men. We saw a little different strategies for the women, but is that bar in control when you drop it? Are you in control when you are moving throughout the process? All of that can add up over time.
Yeah, for sure. Like, every time you drop that bar, there's a reason that they're dropping the bar and not cycling it, and that's to give themselves a little bit of breathing time. You don't really want that bar to rest on the floor too much, but you definitely don't want to have that time and attention of actually chasing the bar down in that touch and go way.
Bossard out the door first at 3:35. Jelle behind him at 3:42. And then it looked like Nika Mazurdes out of CrossFit 148 is actually in third, very, very close to Jelle. So your top three separated by about 7 seconds with Colin, Jelle, and Nika.
The French athlete
Nika, a rookie coming into this season out of Georgia. One of the very few athletes that have actually been competing at the semifinal level. None calling for the CrossFit Games out of Georgia. Rookie on the scene, at least on the semifinals. Qualified 6th overall coming out of quarterfinals. Took 2nd in 24.2 in the quarterfinal event for Europe, which tells me the guy's got an engine.
Yeah, for sure. We've got a guy from Georgia at the gym that I work at, and he was saying that this guy was going to be one to watch on these kind of workouts for sure.
Starting with day number 1. Now, we have 1 event today, 2 events tomorrow, 3 events on Sunday for the individuals. So it's increasing, which we haven't seen before, which is very interesting. But having 1 event today and it being this particular event, are you maybe pushing a bit more knowing you have some recovery coming in, not having 2 events on the day?
Yeah, I think so. I think, it's semifinals level. It is all to play for. You can't really afford to be thinking, I'm going to hold back. Not unless you are someone that is leading the field by a mile, and then you think, okay, I'm just going to make sure that I stay ahead on the last run rather than actually push the last run. I think for most people, they are going to be leaving it on the floor in every event.
You think this event, a 5-rounder like this, round 1 to round 5, we obviously know that's different, but I always feel like there's that second round smack in the face of how I actually feel. And is that going to come on the second run or the second time that bar comes off the ground?
I think I think it will come on the second run in terms of that heart rate shock, and you're like, oh God, okay, this is how we're going to go. And then I think the third one is where you'll really start to feel if you've gone a little bit too hard in that first 2 rounds. And then 4 and 5, that's where the people that have paced it perfectly, they're going to start to make the moves and pull away. And the people that have gone out too hot are really going to start to feel it.
Well, 1, 2 is like athletes have had more time than ever with these events for a week 1 athlete. So they should at least know what that feeling's going to be. And when you think about a 5-round event that has 800-meter runs in it, how are you pacing that out? Is it a negative split 1 to 5? Take the first round and just to see how I feel on the day, because how you feel on game day, first event of the weekend, can be different than how it felt in practice or training.
Yeah, and I think that's sometimes one of the things about having a direct pace that you're trying to hold versus giving yourself a little bit of freedom in terms of I'm going to run it by feel on the first round, because an actual faster pace might feel a little bit easier on the day.
You ever do that 800-meter run where you come in, you're like, oh, I did not think I was going that fast, and now I'm in trouble. How I thought I felt was a lie. Colin Bossard is in the lead. However, Yellowhosta closed that 7-second gap, but in the right side of your screen, in the white shirt, top right, is actually Luka Vuniak out of CrossFit Minus. He made up a lot of ground on that second run. Luka Vuniak actually had a great open performance. He's been on the scene for quite a while. This is his 3rd semifinal. Qualified in 22 and 23. Best overall finish was 9th in 22, which, had they been taking 10 at the time, he would be in a qualifying position. And there it is. Luka Vuniak is off the bar first. So even though he has to get around, he's currently leading in this heat along with Uldis Upenix just behind him. Bossard's out the door, Yellowhosta as well. But right as it stands right now, it's actually top right of screen, Luka Vuniak, Uldis Upenix, Colin Bossard, and then Yellowhosta. Much different than we saw after the first round.
Yeah, it was the pace on that barbell for Yella just dropped off, and that gave the opportunity for Uldis to come through.
Along with BKG.
Most athletes in for their second round of clean and jerks as they are going out for their 3rd round. And left side of your screen, no shirt, black shorts, is actually Victor Hoffer, who's about middle of the pack, if not bottom 5 in this heat. And Victor, you're talking about pressure. I mean, the amount of people talking about Victor Hoffer going to the CrossFit Games for the first time, if not maybe podium hearing or winning, has been pretty loud going in, and this doesn't look like the best start for him, even though it's just the 2nd round of 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a difficult one because this is not, you listen to any podcast, you talk to anyone that he's involved with, this is not his top event. And so I think this is a bit of a damage control event for him for sure, but also like that hype around him. Sometimes that's a downside to being with a big company like HWPO. Like, you have that attention on you automatically just because of the name associated. So I think it'll be interesting to see how he handles the pressure of, you know, the hype, making his first games, being at a home crowd, everything like that, and also, unfortunately, not starting with his best event.
Well, anything about it, too, is that, yes, we're not starting with his best event, but potentially getting his worst one out of the way, and it's only one, so there won't be any maybe event hangover in the same day. But he's going to get his, right? We've got 2 events coming up, the legless rope climb event and the handstand walk event. Could be potential wins for Victor Hoffer.
Yeah, exactly. I think that handstand walk one's going to be really interesting because I think a lot of that event is actually going to be on the road pace. But when you have some really good handstand walkers, that's where they're going to be able to pull away on that.
It'd be very interesting, almost counter to what we're seeing today between the longer run and the barbell cycling, and then we have those moderate distance rows and then a shorter handstand walk. Yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see how those two kind of oppose each other here this weekend.
For sure.
For the first athlete,
waiting for who will be coming in first. It'll be most likely Colin Boshart, who's on the backside, so he's the first one out. However, Luka Vuniak, who was in lane 1, they're basically on opposite sides of the corner, even though they're 10 feet apart when it comes to their spacing in the arena. But Luka Vuniak made up a lot of ground on that second round, not being one of the bigger athletes in the field. I mean, Luka Vuniak sitting at, you know, he's usually more that open work style, right? Not the bodyweight specialist, but Yellow Hosta has actually moved ahead of Boshart. But here's it. Look at the top part of your screen, and that's the benefit there. Or not the benefit, but the deceptive position that Luka Vuniak's in, because he's already 2 reps in. And if you want to see who's in the lead at the specific time, it's when they finish the clean and jerks, as you'll know, because the distances look different even though it's the same in total.
Are in a race to the finish together.
Luka Vuniak about halfway through, 24 years old, out of Serbia.
Harry Lightfoot going, touch and go, ladies and gentlemen, keeping the barbell in his hand. Looking to get
bottom right side of your screen, Harry Lightfoot, another athlete, not unlike Colin Boshart, who's just getting better every year, has the potential to go to the games. But man, honestly, here in Europe, there's just so much talent. The depth of field is so far, yet the spots
are interesting.
That was your first test to see. What would Lucy do if I gave her the opportunity to talk about that? All right, top four athletes are out the door. Just past the 12.5-minute mark. Again, they're all chasing the time set by Lazar Ðukić at 20:33 as we're starting our 4th round.
It'll be interesting to see the impact of those touch and go reps on Harry's next run pace.
Yeah, I don't remember him doing that in the previous 2 rounds. Maybe he thought he needed to make up some time that it wasn't happening on the run, which is not what I would go or do.
I was surprised to see touch and goes for the majority of the reps in round 3.
About 10 athletes on the floor working through their 3rd round of clean and jerks, 185 on the bar. See, top right side of your screen, just exiting is Moritz Fiebig. Been to the games back-to-back years, best finish last year.
I would have thought Jonne Koski would have been higher than this. He's usually pretty engine-based, but he's just followed Victor Hoffer out.
That is definitely an odd position for Jonne Koski. Who, I mean, even I spoke to this a bit coming in, is that I thought Jonne had the potential to win this whole thing, but
his open and quarters performances definitely look like that.
Bronislaw Olenkowicz on the right side of your screen in the blue. One of the last athletes to be done. Kevin Jurs out of Tantalin CrossFit, upper left part of your screen.
Bron is clean and push pressing it.
He's just reluctantly moving the barbell. It's like, you know what a good way to offset those 800-meter runs? If this bar was 315 pounds.
Is that I'll use my shoulders as much as possible, because then I don't need it for the run.
Bronislaw Olenkowicz will be finishing off his third round as we'll keep our eyes out to see if we have a change in our top 5 men coming in from the fourth run. Yella had moved ahead of Colin Boshar, but it was Luka Vuniak that actually closed the distance more on the run, which is not something we're used to seeing with Jelle Hoste in the field. We are past the 15-minute mark. Lazar Ðukić, who's actually done with round 4 at the 16-minute mark. And here comes Luka Vuniak, and Luka Vuniak has moved ahead of both Uldis Urbanics and Jelle Hoste on the run, as Uldis Urbanics, another athlete that actually does very well when it comes to running events with some cycling in there.
He won the run portion of the running jerk event in the 2022 games, and he seems to be just getting stronger every round on this, and Vuniak looks pretty tired coming off that run, so it'll be interesting to see if he can hold it for the last round.
Uldis Urbanics, 4-time CrossFit Games athlete. This is his 4th semi-final appearance. 2 event wins.
And Urbanics. And now Luka Ðukić.
Uldis Urbanics out of Latvia is trying to keep pace with Luka Vuniak. Both have 1 rep left to go, so Uldis Urbanics has actually pulled ahead of Luka Vuniak as he has 1 left to go. So Uldis Urbanics is now your leader, and he's about 15 seconds off the pace of Lazar Ðukić as Luka Vuniak is off his bar and onto his last 800-meter run. Top of your screen, Jelle Hoste has 2 reps remaining. Colin Boshar to his left, also 2. And it's the lane 20, Michael Weslowski, who actually qualified for the games last year, is next to him, but it is Uldis Urbanics. As Jelle Hoste, Colin Boshar are done, and Luka Ðukić is now actually ahead of Jelle Hoste if you just think of time done. So Luka Ðukić actually might be in a 3rd place position in this heat as Fabian Benito comes in the waiting for the next athlete to get off the bar, and it looks like it's going to be lane number 13, Nika Majudez out of CrossFit 148. So Nika was about 3rd after the first round, still holding a top 6 position, so a decent performance. Again, rookie debut here at semifinals. Bottom left corner of your screen in the black and white hat is Jonne Koski, as Björgvin Karl Guðmundsson is done. So BKG on the left and the white and black is done with his 10 clean and jerks. As we have 1 round remaining as we are approaching the 18-minute mark.
It's always funny to see the first few steps that they do off the barbell into that run. It's a proper shuffle. I think it's hamstrings and heart rate at this point.
Very reluctant steps. Moritz Fiebig, Alex Katulis out the door for their 5th and final round. Time to beat 20:33 by Lazar Ðukić in the previous heat. Your overall leader so far in this heat is Luka Vuniak. And when he comes in the door, he's going to come right into lane number 1. So that's the benefit out of doing the longer run at the end, or sorry, at the beginning of your 800, because all athletes started on their bar, looped around the arena, and then went out the door.
Putting his barbell down.
And just coming in, Kevin Jurs, top part of your screen in the blue.
1.5 minutes.
as well as Bronislaw Olenkowicz.
For our athletes on the competition floor to try and get a win over Lazar Ðukić.
On this Ūpeniks is heading in now, Greg.
And leader on the way out. We'll see if he's leader on the way in as Oldest Ūpeniks
Will he
has 1 minute to catch the time of Lazar Ðukić of 20:33. We're at 19:45, 8 reps left to go for Oldest.
Really looks like he turned on the gas in that last run.
Luka Vuniak's now entered the arena. He has about 33 seconds to try to match up Lazar. Oldest has 5 reps left to go. 30 seconds for Oldest. Can he take the time to beat? 3 reps to go, 20 seconds. And a kick off the weekend with 1 final rep and maybe 1 attempt at a touch and go. Oldest Ūpeniks will take event number 1 for the individual man at 2020.
But here comes Luka Ðukić.
Luka Ðukić trying to keep pace, trying to chase down Luka Vuniak. As they have 1 rep left to go, Vuniak will be done. Luka Ðukić looks like he has 1 left to go himself. Both times will be behind the time of Lazar Ðukić. So it looks like Lazar should unofficially hold on to a 2nd place finish as Oldest took him at 2020, followed by Luka Vuniak and Luka Ðukić. Top part of your screen in the orange, Yellow Holsta is trying to hold off Colin Bossard. To the left side of your screen, Nika just getting to his barbell. Guillaume Briand entered the arena. The Frenchman in front of the home crowd waving to get them on their feet. Colin Bossard has finished ahead of Yellow Holsta. Yellow Holsta has 1 rep left to go. Yellow finish right around a time of 21:31. As we have a race to the finish between multiple athletes. Left side of your screen in the orange headband. At a CrossFit 148, Nika Mazurdays.
2 final reps for Harry Lightfoot.
Harry Lightfoot, bottom right part of your screen. He'll actually sneak ahead of Nika, so went touch and go, able to hold on to that furious pace. We'll have to see if he just edged him out. Edged out Nika.
Here comes the notorious BKG.
Alex Catullus, top left part of your screen, no shirt, looking over at Moritz Fiebig in the black tank top. Just below him, 1 rep left to go for Moritz, and Moritz will be done at 22:26. And it looks like a race between Catullus and Fabian Benito. Catullus has 1 rep left to go. He'll finish at 22:39. Fabian Benito just behind him has 5 reps left to go. Victor Hoffer, bottom left corner. He's now 2 reps in.
Benito.
Et les 5 reps finales pour Victor Hoffer.
Jonne Koski just coming in.
Jonne Koski. And we talked about not thinking we'd see Victor Hoffer in this position. There is no bet I would have made that would have told me I would have seen Jonne Koski in the bottom 5 in this heat.
Yeah.
Victor Hoffer is done. Jonne Koski, bottom left corner of your screen, black shirt, white hat. He has 5 reps left to go. Top part of your screen, Luis Suler. He'll be done as Jonne Koski's got 3 reps left. Now, he's not the last one in the heat. We still have 2 athletes out on the run. That's Kevin Jures and Bronislaw Olenkowicz.
1 final rep for Jonne Koski.
But 23:53 unofficially for Jonne Koski. Not the start we would have thought he'd see. Definitely not what he would have wanted. And I hope this is more of a product of an event that just gets you sometimes versus anything else.
Yeah, for sure. It's not the start that he probably would have wanted, but you know, he's a very seasoned games vet, so you can never count him out. We've got still plenty more time, plenty more events to come.
Few things on the line with some of these athletes in here. One of the biggest ones out there is actually Björgvin Karl Guðmundsson is attempting to qualify for his 11th consecutive CrossFit Games and would be the first athlete ever to qualify for 11 consecutive. We've had some that made 11. Ben Smith did 11 in 2019, but got invited to the CrossFit Games last year. But BKG trying to do something no one has done in the history of this sport and qualify for 11 consecutive CrossFit Games. Had an injury last year.
And still finished just outside the top 10.
Just outside the top 10 for the first time, and except I think for his first year competing at the CrossFit Games, breaking an incredible streak of consistency that BKG has. 8 top 10 finishes at the CrossFit Games for BKG. Bronislaw Olenkowicz, last man on the field. Just a mere formality of him being able to get these last 2 reps, as we're well clear of the 30-minute time cap.
25-39.
And that'll do it for the individuals on day number 1. We still have team athletes coming up. And Lazar Ðukić set the time to beat in heat number 1, but Lazar Ðukić came and beat that by about 10 or 12 seconds. And we'll see how this shakes out going in. 1 event doesn't paint the whole picture. 5 events left to go.